Welcome to the Today Show. Thank you for joining us on the Disability Channel and your channel, reaching out to the Halton region. I am Unstoppable Tracy, and today I have two extraordinary guests. First up is Will Gessart, and second up is Bethune. Both of them I know from the high performance skiing world in Ontario and a couple of national competitions. Now, I just played games at it in the Ontario world, but Will was definitely vying for Team Canada at one point, and now he's grown up from being a professional trying to be the quest for the gold alpine ski team with the parasport world to being a technician with orthotics and prosthetics at Toronto's very own Holland Bloorview. So please allow you to welcome my friend and extraordinary superstar in the prosthetic orthotics world, William Gessart. Hey, Will.
Hey, Tracy. How are you doing?
I am so pleased that I could kidnap you right before you do a prosthetic technician fitting piece right out of Holland Bloorview. Is that where you are right now?
That's right. Yeah, we're doing our recording here from the lovely spray room at Holland Bloorview. This room is where we paint all of our uprights and our braces.
Well, that's great. So you're painting them whatever skin color or fancy covers people are looking for?
Yep, any of the metal on the brace, any uprights for anybody out there who owns a CAFO or any kind of like knee joints or ankle joints, we can, we'll sandblast the metal and we'll spray it with whatever color you want that matches the transfer that you chose.
Oh my gosh, I didn't mean for you to go all techie on me right at the beginning, but it was just like, what kind of room are you in? So some of our listeners are not as savvy as you and I are with prosthetics because we're both amputees. So
That's
for
right.
the friends and family members out there, what's an upright and what's a CAFO?
So you've got a couple of different, this is speaking about orthotics, which,
Okay.
so the difference between the two professions would be prosthetics is replacing a limb that's missing, and orthotics would be aiding a limb that's there, but it doesn't work as it would on an able-bodied person. So a CAFO stands for knee, ankle, foot orthosis, and that would be like a full leg brace, and we would have just like a knee brace that you'd get, from any one of those, any custom company or things like that. It's just a larger version encompassing your ankle and your foot for instabilities within your knee and your ankle. So uprights would be the part that controls that motion of the knee in the correct plane, like plane of motion. So your knee kind of bends forward and backward as you walk, and knee joints help keep that in alignment.
And I always love to celebrate you, and I say, oh, you're a prosthetist, right? And we, between friends, we are very cheeky and we joke, not prostitute, but you're always such the professional, and you're like, no, technician, Trace, and you're telling me about your levels of certification. So what's the difference for a technician?
So the difference between there's technically speaking 4 different disciplines. You have your clinicians and you have your technicians. So for those people out there who who would come to us to get fit, you would see a clinician first. So they're kind of the doctor. They're the person that comes in, assesses your accessibility needs, what your brace needs to accomplish for you, and functionally, as well as what you want it to look like. Whether we get a printout online or whether you draw your own thing or have a tattoo artist draw something for you. That's all discussed in the initial assessment. And then there's the technician. So after the clinician sees the patient, they'll come back to us with a cast and say, this is what the client wants. And our job as a technician is to fabricate it and build it. And then within the prosthetics and orthotics world, it is split up into prosthetics and orthotics. You can be, as a clinician, registered in either one of those or both potentially, and same thing as a technician. Currently right now, I'm a registered orthotic technician. I was registered out in Alberta about 3 years ago now, maybe
Yeah.
4 years ago, and I've completed my hours in prosthetics, and I'm just kind of waiting for COVID to subside a little bit so that I can write my Canadian certification exam
Yeah.
for prosthetics.
I mean, this has been, and I believe that was your initial dream, was to be more on the
Always.
prosthetic side.
Yeah, it definitely was. Prosthetics, to some people in the industry or getting into the industry, it can look like it's a little robotic. Some of the things look pretty neat. So there's a lot of people that try and get into prosthetics. So I kind of ventured towards Alberta out west and just kind of landed any job that I could to get into the industry. So I started. I started in orthotics, and then I moved to a prosthetics company called NAPOS, Northern Alberta Prosthetics and Orthotic Services, and I
Yeah.
completed my prosthetic hours there. And then I moved back to Toronto, and this was my dream job since I was a really young boy, volunteering here at the age of 10. So I've known everybody here for a really long time. Everybody also says hi, Ron and Brian and Jessica. Yeah.
Amazing. And you're talking about, and I keep calling it Holland Bloorview. I keep putting a slang to it, but what's its official name now?
The full title is Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital.
And now I like to think I'm a kid, but even I get to go. So you guys also, do you just bend the rules for people like me that grew up with the system, or do adults come in fresh off the street as well?
Nope, that's right. Basically, you would have been, I guess, grandfathered in, or not even. So the deal here is if you were a patient or client with us under the age of 18, you can continue to be seen as an adult.
Right.
To keep that client and clinician relationship going is a pretty important relationship to maintain, and I think that Bloorview realized that. So if you've been seeing somebody as a pediatric client, under 18 is pediatrics, then they'll continue to let you see your clinician through until adulthood.
And what's so interesting about our listeners is sometimes maybe they're amputees or someone that needs an orthotic somewhere else in Canada or the world, right? Roku is 35 million viewers everywhere internationally, and then of
Right.
course there's your TV, which is the cable channel. So is there any connection with Burlington or Milton, or tell us a little bit about the kind of folks that come to Holland Bloorview and where they come from.
We have people from all over Ontario. We occasionally, in the past here, but quite a while ago, we have had some underprivileged children from other countries. We had a few PFFD kids coming from Mexico. That's like a congenital deformity. And yeah, but we mostly service Ontario and Ontario patients, and they come from all over. This is it's a learning hospital, and it's a huge research and development hospital. So they deal with a lot of intricate cases. We get a lot of congenital people with disabilities. So
like
whether that's orthotics or prosthetics, whether you're born with your disability, those tend to not be as straightforward as somebody who acquired their amputation or their disability. So we see a lot of really neat things, and when a certain medical professional kind of diagnoses that this is a challenging thing to get this person active and back on their feet again, they definitely come to see us.
So privacy is super relevant, but do you have a story of a interesting scenario from the center that you remember, either as an observer or a participator?
I personally have lots. I've been a client here since I was 2 years old. So
Wow.
without speaking about other clients and other patients, I know from my personal experience some of the things that have been provided here for me growing up,
Yeah.
and some of them have been pretty incredible. Like one of the things that comes to mind right off the bat is, Brian, who was your clinician a little while back,
The
was
Joel
also
O'Brien.
mine. Yeah, and when I was a kid, a teenager, I guess you'd say, he put, I can't remember how it came about, but he managed to laminate an iPod Shuffle or an iPod Nano into my leg. So I would plug in my headphones. Now everything's wireless, but I would plug
Yeah.
my headphones into my hip, and the music player was laminated into the socket itself, so you could just reach through your pants and kind of change the song as you were going, not pay attention in math class and that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so
Yeah.
fun. That's really cool.
Yeah. I would say probably the thing that we do the most of that, just kind of warms your heart or that you really enjoy about your job is just some of the way that we can make these braces look.
Yeah.
Yes, function is probably or is the most important part, but when you get children who don't always, they don't always want to wear it, they don't understand that. They want it to look nice. They want to be cool in front of their friends, and they want their friends to think that that's cool and that they want one. And growing up, I can't remember having a lot of my friends be like, yeah, I want to be an amputee too, or I want one
Yeah.
leg. And now I hear kids all the time, their friends are jealous or robot this and that, and how cool does that transfer look? Like we can put all kinds of things on legs and make them look really, really nice for the kids. So to see
Yeah.
their smiles and their happiness when they get what they get, what we make them is really great.
So it's so cool for our listeners who might need to come here. It's also cool for families and friends and neighbors that might know somebody and not fully understood all the background pieces and what's possible out there. When you talk about some of the cool things we've seen on legs, like it makes me think of Transformers, and it's true. Like and wacky projects that Brian's done. I know he took like a metal, not a metal, I don't even know what the content was. It was a black square, you might know, and they carved it down to fit in a snow blade. So I didn't need a foot or a boot. We just immediately inserted this black block. Do you know what that was? Because I think you were part of it. Solution finding.
Block that would have,
Like
that would have been, yeah, that would probably have been milled by one of the machinists here.
yeah,
It was basically replicating the bottom of a ski boot, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So Blurview is on the cutting edge of all the technology that's coming out. They're always doing research into it if it's not their own idea, and they're always making sure that it works. But one of the things that we have now, which I guess would have made that quite a lot easier back in the day, is I'm actually close to the digital technologies room, and where Blurview's purchased a scanning gun,
Oh,
and not a gun, but more of like a
wow.
scanning tool, so to say, that you would wave over somebody's leg or residual limb,
Yeah.
or the bottom of a ski boot, and you would get that exact replica on a computer screen and be able to print that or carve it out of foam or anything like that. So then we can then turn that digital image into a positive product, like instead of it just being a digital file, that can then be mimicked and printed out of materials. So
Wow.
that's something that's kind of coming up. We're not offering it to clients just yet. It's still in the opening phases of figuring out if, when we do scan the residual limb, do these sockets fit the client
Yeah.
when we do our modifications and all that. But yeah, that would have been the bottom of your ski boots, like some type of ABS plastic. And nowadays, with the right tools, that can be printed quite easily. So all
Wow.
kinds of different pieces that would help interface your socket to whatever type of adaptive device you're using.
Wow, it's extraordinary. I think when you were up and coming, you've always seemed to have an interest in the 3D technology, like the 3D printing. Is that kind of how that is, or is that a
Yes,
whole different?
it's similar. So yeah, to get to a 3D model of somebody's residual limb, you do use that scanner and you scan their leg and it becomes a 3D model on a computer screen. And from there, I currently we're not using 3D printers, but we're using, or at least I've been looking into foam carvers. So it starts off with a big foam block, and the machine turns that with a drill bit that will go in and out and carve the shape that we've captured. A lot of this right now, you can quantify all the fine details and the modifications that you do. So that's nice for a lot of the clinicians to be able to medically say, this is what I'm doing and how it's affecting the client. Whereas before it still is a little bit, but we use plaster. So you have your residual limb and the clinician will cast you and get a negative of your residual limb, and then we fill that with plaster. For us, with digital technology and carving these things, it's a lot nicer because a big heavy cast is no longer, 60, 70 pounds, or maybe a little bit lighter than that, but they're 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds, because they're just light pieces of foam to work off of. So it's made our life easier for sure. And, for somebody who walks around all day with an above knee amputation, it saves my back, and it definitely helps out in those areas. So it's good all around for everybody.
Yeah. And well, we're both above knee too. So as somebody that's being casted, as a woman or as a man, I guess it's just as intimate for you as it is for me to be able to get that socket. Yeah. Right up to be able to get a good replica of your leg. So it's fabulous as well. It sounds a lot less invasive and more respectful.
A little less. Yes, that's right. A little less hands-on for sure, but yet, more detailed and almost more hands-on, less physical hands-on.
Yeah. Which is also a nice progression. Yeah,
it definitely, and it helps a lot with the children who have a hard time with casting. There's a lot of kids who are, it's not their favorite thing. It's confusing and a little bit and scary. So it's nice to be able to just, for a helmet or whatever, just scan that part of them, and then we've got a replica of what we need to work off of.
It's so great. Yeah, because it's the same as getting a cast for a broken limb, right? It's a full-on cast.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Exactly the same process. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'm completely remiss because it's really neat. I feel like I'm talking to Will, who I know is so much like the guy I grew up with. Like it's kind of funny to be listening to this professional technician from Bloorview, and I've just absorbed into your world because you know so much about the process. But we grew up together, so I'm going to just go backwards. Instead of future, present, past, I'm going to go present, past, future, and just sort of pull into your famous skiing days. So was I right? Did you make Quest for the Gold? Were you a Quest for the Gold for a little while, or an applicant of?
Yeah, I was a recipient of the Quest for Gold funding in Ontario for quite a number of years.
Yeah.
I would say 3 years probably. That was a pretty incredible time to be skiing in the Paralympic world. It was incredible to get the funding to be able to go and ski around North America, a few camps in the United States, and mostly going out west here in Canada and a couple of camps in Quebec and things like that. But the Quest for Gold was really fantastic.
I know I saw you get a silver medal at an event. I don't know, did you ever get a first place at an Ontario or North American event?
Yeah, I remember it was the Ontario Provincial Championships, and I couldn't tell you what year it was. Probably about a decade ago now. I'm almost 30.
I won't confess.
Yeah.
Was it Calabogie?
I believe it was Mount St. Louis Moonstone, actually. It was one of the first ever integrated races between para-skiing and able-bodied skiing. And I remember we were racing with the U16 club there at the time. And they were having their Ontario championships, and then we were having ours on the exact same course, running the same thing as all the other kids.
Yeah, they are steep pitches. They are authentically double black diamond. They're not para rated. They are just plain old double black diamonds. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You'll if you if you do a little comparison from the able-bodied ski world to the para world, all of the in terms of World Cup, the men and women para racers will race on the same hills and on the same track as the female category in like able-bodied World Cup.
Woo! I didn't know
So
that.
they're flying down the hill at 130 kilometers an hour, just like everybody else.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Well, I have a nice surprise for you, Will. I'm gonna put my producer on his toes. We're as we say goodbye to extraordinary Will, who is celebrated Holland Bloorview. And if people want to donate, or they want to learn more, or they're feeling stuck and they're looking to problem solve, or somebody in their communities just acquired a disability, how do people find either you or find Bloorview, whoever you want to communicate to the community?
I would definitely say that your first bet for any kind of information or contact information for somebody in the industry, if you are looking to get a device made for you, Bloorview is a great start if you have a child or are a child under the age of 18. hollandbloorview.ca is their website. You'll find all the resources on there.
Great.
Yeah, and then if you contact the prosthetics and orthotics department, I'm sure that if anybody really wanted to contact me personally, you'd get me through there.
Fabulous, incredible. So a nice little surprise as we say goodbye to you and we say hello to my next guest, Anne Bethune. Anne Bethune, everybody, is an occupational therapist, and she's a classifier. So both Will and I, when we were out in British Columbia getting classified, we had to prove authentically that, yes, in fact, our legs are missing. So we gave evidence to Anne that our legs are missing, and she would classify us and where we rated in the scheme of things. So, if you're okay with the handover, can I say hello to Anne, and Anne can say hello to you, and then we'll say goodbye, if that's okay
Sounds
with you,
great.
Will?
Perfect. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Right, there's Anne now. Anne,
hello, my friends. So nice to see you.
Anne Bethune. Can you see Will on the screen, Anne?
I sure can. Hi, Will.
And Will, can you hear Anne?
I can hear. Yep.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of your interview there, and having worked as a classifier, but also on the slip crew for the Olympics and the Paralympics here in Vancouver. Amazing. I can attest it's the same course, absolutely for everybody, and it's wild.
Oh my gosh. And tell the world what a slip crew does.
Oh, sure. So the slip crew, we're the crew that sets up the course, like starting at the middle of the night, and we side slip the course to make it clean and clear in between the racers. So if you watch closely on the TV cameras, if anything's televised, you'll kind of see these bibbed two pairs going down right in between the racers, and then we snug off to the side when the next racer comes down. Yeah. So it's really fun because you feel like you're actually on the course as a racer, and we have our own little finish line off to the right, and we go, yay! We made it.
Yeah, but you certainly were lucky. You are super fit to be a slip courser for our double black diamond race course.
Yeah, it's a lot of physical work for sure.
And I hate to break it to you, I've got to say goodbye to our extraordinary William Gessart, representing hollandbloorview.ca. You have been amazing in telling us all about what technicians do in prosthetics and orthotics today, Will. And I'm so glad you are deemed an essential service out there during COVID, and you are certainly essential in my life. So thank you for being here, Will.
Thank you so much. Yeah, always a pleasure, and look forward to being on next time.
Yes, I'm so glad we had this mini reunion.
Yes, lovely.
Anne Bethune, you have been in my life since about, I think I was 8. and you and our superstar Kathy Smart were my instructors that said, you want to keep going, we'll keep going. And you were like all about, we can do this. And it gave me that we can do it attitude, thanks to you. And now fast forward 1 or 2 years later, I am no longer 8. And then in my 20s and my 30s, all of a sudden you reappeared in my skiing life, because you grew up to be, not when we were a sailing instructor, but you grew up to be an occupational therapist and a classifier in the high performance skiing world. And then fast forward some more when I was in World Cup sailing, and then we didn't get to go to Tokyo 2020, and all of that was canceled. And you know, the aftermath of Rio 2016 and being in a funk, you were back in my life as this wellness professional to pick me up yet again. So all these major moments of truth in my life, skiing, sailing, occupational therapy, and now health and wellness and sanity, you are my friend and my lifeline and a professional like 3 times over. So thank you for joining me on my show today, and Bethune.
What an honor, Tracy. And you know, we could go in a zillion directions with what we could talk about. I know, because we have so much overlap. And I think back to you as that 8-year-old girl, and you came with that unstoppable spirit. I cannot take credit for it at all. And I just remember a few moments with you, and you were just such a big, smiley, happy little girl, and you just had this can-do attitude all the time. And I'm not sure about the story of being pushed out of the boat, but anyway, maybe rolling out of the boat, I don't know.
Yes.
But I just remember having so much fun in those years of teaching you sailing. And then when we reconnected and I said, hey Tracy, what have you been doing? Oh yeah, well, you know, I became a sailing instructor, and then, you know, I'm a Paralympian sailor, and I kind of went like, and I've been traveling the world, and you know, I just went right on. That is just the coolest, and I've just been such a fan of yours as well, and the fact that we can kind of mutually impact each other's lives has been really, really such a joy. Lifelong friend, my friend.
Lifelong, forever. And I forgot to add to all of that, seeing your beautiful jewelry. Like, also, so I should have one of your pieces on now. I don't think these earrings are from you, but you have some incredible jewelry pieces too. So not only my soul inside, you decorate me on the outside, and all my muzzles too. But so what was crazy is, so imagine, right? I'm a young girl and I'm sailing, and then all these years later, and I'm nervous and anxious because it was my first North American skiing, alpine, downhill competition. And they said, you know, to be in this, you got to be classified. And I'm like, what? And I had never been classified. And so I spend all my life trying to prove what I can do. And now they want to send me to some room to prove what I can't do. And it was really confusing. And I walk in the room and it's you after all these years. So many people listening today may know what a classifier is, but I think a majority don't know what classification is in the Paralympic world. So can you just give that a bit of an overview?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So classification is really kind of best described, and I hate to use the word handicap, but you know, the handicap you have for golf, right? Yeah. So it's kind of a system of applying a handicap to even the playing field, and not focusing on someone's inability, but focusing on their abilities and what they can do, right? So there's different categories of classification for skiing, for example. There's a sitting classification, there's standing, there's visually impaired. And then within each of those 3 classes, they break them down into different classes. And then there's a factor added to their end time. And it really makes it a little bit more fair for everybody to compete. Because, you know,
well, look at Will and Tracy.
These Paralympian athletes are, you know, devoting their life to becoming, you know, a Paralympian, and this classification is so essential to be fair and put people in the correct category. So it's usually people who have a background or a health professional background to some degree, and a passion for skiing, and it's all a volunteer gig for the classifiers.
Which
So
is you, a passion for sailing and skiing and
yeah,
like occupational therapist. And so like Will with one leg, and then myself as a four-way amputee. If he was female and I was female, we could compete against each other, but
that's
the
correct.
factor, the multiplication would just level the playing field between a one-legged skier and a four-way amputee.
Exactly. And you could all compete in the standing category.
Which is so great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So classification is such an important thing in the parasport world, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and you've been through it a lot, and we're not always popular as classifiers. I'm actually not working as a classifier anymore.
Okay.
But I'm still passionate. It's just one of those things, you can't do it all in life, and I have so many balls in the air, but still follow it and have lots of friends in the world who are. So,
well, and I'm so pleased to say that when COVID happened in March, I know it happened before March, but when the airline shut down in March, I'm happy to say I was in British Columbia visiting half a dozen ski hills, largely because of Anne Bethune introducing me. So we got to, right before COVID shutdown, lockdown, you and I got to ski a bunch of hills together.
well, it was so fun because I brought you out as our keynote for our vast Vancouver Adaptive Snow Sports final kind of a festival day and vast cap, and we just had such a riot. We got that in like literally 4 days before things shut down because of COVID. And we even squeaked in a day skiing together at Whistler, which was just so fun and so memorable. You know, and then things really changed over the next year, as we know. So it was just such a joy to really have that fun time with you, Tracy, and ski, and saw you got wiped out by that guy. We won't talk about that, but
yeah, full body slam. And it could have been like romantic, right? Maybe I got a date out of it, but I didn't. I think he was married. Yeah.
He probably fell for you anyway.
You're so great. So, you know, Taco, I like body slam by this guy. It kind of walloped me into the brutal reality of COVID impacting everybody there and then onwards. And so you worked with the adaptive skiing, and right across Canada, you know, adaptive sailing, you know, adaptive skiing, but you also support even bigger, your more massive life impact now. And in my life, my bigger is health and wellness. And so what do you see going on in your adaptive world and in your health and wellness world? What's been happening the last 10 months to the support?
I would say that, you know, when I think about all the things that I'm passionate about, Tracy, you and I are so aligned with our passion to truly help people and impact people. And I know, like, since grade 11, I wanted to be an occupational therapist, and it kind of stemmed into adaptive sport. And, you know, it's stemmed into nutrition, wellness, and an online, really a business now, which you and I are both passionate about a nutritional system. And, you know, I would never claim that one thing is the panacea of great health, but I know that you and I have both dropped a few pounds.
Yeah. 40, I hate to admit.
40 pounds, I know. Yeah. And I remember you telling me that my legs are loose. My legs are loose.
Yeah. Who doesn't want loose legs for that reason?
Who wouldn't want loose legs? Exactly.
Not the flesh, just the socket.
Just the socket, yeah. Exactly.
Just the socket, not the flesh.
Yeah. So I've really found something that, especially during COVID, I found that the interest and literally my phone's been ringing off the hook, because I think people during COVID are feeling isolated. They have more time. People have perhaps put on that, whatever it is, COVID-15 or COVID-20 or more.
I'm afraid that's me too, right? I need
Yeah,
to
you're
get
not
back.
alone, Tracy. Yeah, totally not alone. And you have a really great tool in your toolbox to get on track, as you know.
Yes, I called you, and part of calling you to get back on track was the invite to being here today, but it was mostly about help, be my
I'll
lifeline.
kick you a butt. I'll kick you a butt. And I think that part of the magic of this system, and I don't want to make this interview all about that, but just if anyone wants to know more about it afterwards, they can reach out to you or reach out to me, and we can chat about it. But it's really, I think, first of all, the community of people that connect people all over the world online with a focus of health and wellness is number one. Number two is that it's a really beautiful science-backed based system that addresses nutrient depleted soils, toxicity, and stress. And when we get our stress and hormones under control, oh man, the weight drops off, the energy levels go up, and it works. I would say that I haven't, missed a day in 13 years of something in the system. And believe me, we've enjoyed wine, we've enjoyed chocolate.
Yes.
It's not about being perfect, but it's a really beautiful, beautiful system. And I know that it's so aligned with really helping people to be their best and the best version of themselves. And we all know that that's a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
We never get there. And I kind of stumbled into this, Tracy, because I had a challenging time. 13 years ago, I was struggling with post-pregnancy weight. I had I don't want to get down this road of this story too much right now, but I had a really debilitating eye pain issue. And I can't make medical claims that this kind of cured it, but it's why this system came into my world. And I released 35 pounds like you did. And I would say it gave me the springboard of well-being to do the other work in life that I continue to do, and the personal growth. And, I think we learn to help others by going through it ourselves. And, I love to quote Oprah. I think she said this, but anyway, maybe I'll just say I said it.
Yeah. You say it now, darling.
Yeah, is that the key to happiness is to find something you're good at and figure out a way that you can give back to others, which you do so beautifully. And I would say Richard Branson probably added to that if you can make money at it along the way, all the better. And I do think that whole money piece, that could be a whole call in and of itself, because I think we're way more powerful people when we do have financial health as well. Physical health, it was something that I was always very passionate about, and went to university to become a health professional. But I was a little bit of a Pollyanna around, we just need love, we don't need money.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us.
Yeah, and now as a business coach, as a business leader, I've really shifted my thinking in having those conversations, and those real conversations with people that you and I have had too.
Yep.
So, that could be just a whole other call in and of itself. But it's been a really fantastic personal journey that stemmed from a really difficult time and a health issue myself that kind of like, oh my gosh, and it's so much longer than we can even go into today.
Yeah, but releasing, and I have a few friends that have had different pieces, from diabetes to, recovering from cancer, and it doesn't eliminate these things, but boy, the strength that comes back. The definition of physical literacy is there's the competency, the physical activity capability, and then there's the confidence and the motivation, right? It's not just the competence and confidence. It's confidence. Yeah, I can do it. But motivation, I'm going to do it. And what I find is this, it's not just, you didn't just, give me a physical body that I could be proud of again as an athlete, that through sadness of things ending, that I got my body back, but that you also, the community of people that you introduced me to, men and women, like we are like, they're just so soul filling. So it was like, It was the competence of a new body, but it was also the confidence that it brought back, and then the motivation it brought back. So it's like this whole, so I feel like it's not physical literacy, it's kind of like wellness literacy, not just the body, it's the body, the confidence, the motivation, it's the whole package, which and it comes from the resources that you share, but the education and the friendship and those wine nights together by like-minded people, right?
Yeah. We're not meant to do these things on our own.
No.
You know, we're meant to learn from each other and collaborate. And I think I have found, especially since COVID time being online, it's actually interesting that you can access more people globally and connect online. And, you know, as long as you're just open-minded and, you know, I just got off this really, really lovely call, and I don't want to digress to too much around because I could go on and on. It was a mastermind about discovering our strengths, right? And our strengths even have a dark side and a light side, and how we can master life by really understanding what our 5 top strengths are, and note when we use them, and then perhaps when we're not using them. So for example, you and I think have a lot of social intelligence. So in this COVID time, we might find ourselves a little bit edgy or irritable when we're not having social connection. Right?
That's me. Oh wow, like I wouldn't confess that because I'm power positivity, but I'm totally much more edgy.
So picking up the phone or even a Zoom or whatever it is that we can do to kind of fill that, you know, strength of ours is just it applies so much, I think, to everybody out there right now. And there's you know, some wonderful resources online that you can identify what your strengths are, and you know, really reflect at this time as why you might be feeling a little bit off if you're not utilizing those, and how can you bring them back into your life in a creative way during this COVID time.
Yes. Do you have your notes in front of you? Do you know the 5 strengths?
Oh, it's not just 5 strengths. I would say the message was you can go online and discover your personal 5 strengths.
Nice.
Okay, so I have yet to go on and do that survey.
That's
okay. I can give you that website link afterwards so that people can, for fun, do their own 5 strengths. It's authenticstrengths.com.
Amazing. Or reach out, right? Don't do the survey alone. Do the survey with a lifeline like Anne or myself. Yeah.
Well, we're going to do it with our business team, and then we can know more about each other, right?
Nice.
And then we can also help to fill in if we know someone's, you know, kind of needing something and lacking and is not, you know, their needs are not being met. It might be a fun thing to do with a partner or a friend or a spouse so that you can generate some dialogue and know more about each other as well. So the 5 strengths I think that come out of this are going to be your own personal 5 strengths, and mine are going to be different than yours. Although I happen to know they're probably going to be fairly similar, knowing you.
Because birds of a feather flock together.
Exactly.
Notice how we both chose to wear pink today.
I know.
We didn't plan that, right?
My little jewelry gig is Tickled Pink Creations, right? So it's always pink.
It's why I wore pink, because you are tickled pink. I did remember that piece of it all. It's so true. And you know, I'm hearing you and saying, and do with somebody else. And you know where my head goes sometimes in listening to conversations like these is it used to be this, oh, that would be really good for my dad. He really needs this, or my mom really, or my sister needs this, or my best friend needs this, or my son or my daughter needs this. And you know, one of the things that makes me think of as someone who worked at Air Canada, it's kind of like what the flight attendant says. You know, first you got to put on your oxygen mask, and then you put on the oxygen mask for others. And I feel like our money conversation earlier was a little bit about that too. Like, yes, we have a difference, and we have this weird conversation around money. But if we don't have oxygen, if we can't survive with our expenses of daily living and our activities of daily living, how can we be generous and abundant with others? And so
Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
just makes me think of that whole oxygen analogy.
Yeah. And I think, I think you and I have been blessed in that we were those positive little girls. I could think of you and that big smile on the sailboat. And I've also, like you, have been on a quest and knowing I'll never get there to my better version of myself, given this place in time. And for all our listeners out there, I would just really encourage you during this, especially for many who during COVID who might be home more, this is a really golden opportunity to have more time to focus on the positive, to focus on what you can do to actually serve others, to serve the world. And I really feel that this is our responsibility, especially right now. And you get where you look, right? When we're skiing, right? If we're skiing in the trees and we're focusing on the trees, we're going to hit the tree, right?
Yeah, I've learned that one.
Whereas if we're focusing on the powder in between, oh man, we're going to be floating through those trees and having a really beautiful run, right? It's the same in life.
What you focus on grows.
Yeah. And at this time, just being conscious of every thought that you're thinking, even about others, because there's a lot of, negative information out there. Some of it, who knows where it comes from, how true it is, I don't know. But I just kind of let it all go and just focus on where Anne is going, where the people I love are going, how I can support them. And, I think that that's one thing we can all do right now during this COVID time. I know there's lots of people who are busy working frontline and whatnot and don't have all this extra time that we're talking about, but there are a lot of us who are at home. And I know my day is pretty much at home, working on my business and doing my own personal, health routine and whatnot. And I don't see a lot of people. I don't have a very big bubble. But it's been a happy time. It's actually been a really joyful and productive time since COVID, and there's been a lot of blessings despite the fact that there's been loss.
Yes. And I have lots of people I absolutely love and adore in my life, very close people, but somehow I haven't been able to stay in touch with them. I've let the COVID life get away from me. But Anne, you have been constant. Like, we haven't lost touch because you are so great at staying in touch and being a lifeline, even though you're growing exponentially. So I highly recommend having Anne. Has been a massive lifeline and oxygen giver in my life
what an honor that is.
For health, for love, for jewelry. Like, she was just so well-rounded. So if you're interested in adaptive sport, if you're interested in growing your health and your wellness, if you're interested in a new business model, if you're interested in getting her beautiful jewelry, highly recommend Tickled Pink. So where are all the places they can find you for all of those reasons?
Sure. So my email is anne, at vass.ca. That's really easy. VASS, Vancouver Adaptive Snow Sports. That's an easy handle to remember.
Nice. And with an E.
Yeah. And healthyinsideout.ca is for health. And my jewelry is, I'm on Instagram, Tickled Pink Creations with a CA at the end.
With the CA for Canada. We're Roku and we're all over the world.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to capture this information. If you want to go to the Disability Channel to check us out for replays, or YouTube or Facebook, the Disability Channel. But better yet, visit Healthy Inside Out, and Anne can connect you to jewelry or adaptive sport or wellness conversation if you're interested. And be sure to say you found her through this show.
Thanks, Tracy. I love you.
I love you. I think it's
full heart.
Woo! Big pink, massive heart. Oh my gosh, Anne, you are. The world is lucky to have you. I know my entire life has been better for having you in my life.
You just fill me up, girlfriend. So I look forward to a chat soon. And what an honor to be on your show today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for jumping in and being a lifeline again for my TV show. And now for the world. I love that, everybody. What you focus on grows. Who's your path? My path is definitely driven by Anne Bethune. and ignoring a lot of that negativity out there. Healthy inside out and with an E at VAS for vast amazingness, like Vancouver adaptive snow sport, skiing sport. I'm getting
Adaptive
it.
Snow Sports. VAS.ca is our website for Vancouver Adaptive Snow Sports, and I am president of that organization. I'm not sure we mentioned that. So if anyone, is into adaptive skiing and comes out to Vancouver, we're a great resource.
Yes. And Anne is such a networker. Like, she's lived in Ontario and, connections to the Halton region for all of our Your TV people watching. So she really knows a lot about all sorts of, wellness people in your area, skiing in your area, sailing
Ontario,
in your area. Born and raised. So she travels across Canada with all of her adaptive sports. So she is a phenomenal resource overall. You don't have to be in Vancouver to reach out to her. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for focusing us on the fluffy, beautiful, peaceful snow and not on the trees. No more trees for us, only to look at beautifully, not to wall up into. And we'll say goodbye
and
for
thanks
now.
for always bringing out the best in others, Tracy. You're still amazing.
Oh, thank you. So thank you, listeners, for listening in today. I hope you feel like the best was brought out in you and you are feeling more ready, willing, and able to be unstoppable. Be sure to check out the Disability Channel. Thank you for watching Your TV and the Disability Channel. And if you're interested in employment or podcasts or other restreams, please do follow us and follow on Instagram our fabulous Anne Bethune with her, tell us again with the pink @ handle on Instagram.
Tickled Pink Creations CA.
Tickled Pink Creations CA and or Unstoppable. And I can help you find Anne if you have any trouble. Many positive thoughts, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Bye for now and look forward to you next week. I love that heart.